Well, welcome to the fourth episode of the Discipleship for the Decades podcast. I'm Jeremy, the Blaze Youth Director, here on staff at Bethel. And this is where a real faith meets a real life. We are starting a new year. Happy New Year. It is 2021. And if you're like most of us, we are ready to see 2020 go. The
Thank
door
God.
could not hit 2020 on the way out fast enough.
We're kicking it to the curb today,
Yes.
if we haven't already.
Yes.
Right.
Gosh, I know. But we just want to thank you for joining us. Obviously, we are available anywhere you can get a podcast, Apple Podcast. We are available on Google Podcast, Spotify. But check us out on YouTube if you'd like to see the audio version as well. So I'm here today with someone that you've come to know if you followed along with us, the Reverend Karis Kemp, the Associate Pastor here at Bethel.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here with our special guest, Reverend Dr. Tom Labonte, the Assistant Pastor for Pastoral Care here at Bethel.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Tom. So, again, looking at 2020, we do want to kick it in the rearview mirror, and we want to say, okay, this is over with. But I think we were able to do some really cool stuff. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about how we'd like to start with the news of the good. The news of the good from the past year. I think we've all heard enough news of the not good. So here we are
Yep.
wanting to focus on some news of the good, particularly here about Bethel Church and what can we reflect on from last year that we go church, good on ya. So for me, I'll just start with one news of the good. I know a few Sundays back, we got to honor Murdoch and Melody, who were our interim, Murdoch Morrison, to be precise, was our interim choir director and served the church for about a year. Is that correct?
Just about.
Just about.
And just, gosh, what an incredible presence, friend. It's amazing how quickly that man can just endear himself to you. And so, Murdoch and Melody, I just wanted to thank you personally. I know the choir feels the same. Your presence here was a bright spot in this past year.
Now, Tom, don't speak too highly of them. We know that you're very fond of them, so Tom's probably a little biased.
I've known them many years, and they are true servants of God, Melody and Murdoch, and what a blessing to the churches in this area that they've served. And you can't find any better people, better Christians, or people with the heart of God that they share with everyone.
Well, and there's very few people that I would say we use the term would give you the shirt off their back, but I think Murdoch and Melody would give you their house, not just their shirt, right? I mean, that's the kind of people that they are. So I completely agree getting to work with you guys for a little bit of time. It's been great to...
The only thing Murdoch might not part with is his wine collection, but I think everything else would be fair game.
Okay.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
Good.
And speaking of music stuff, I was not around when this happened, but I hear that we took some music out into the community in the past year and would love to hear some of that story.
So we did. We actually couldn't do it as much as we would have liked, obviously, with COVID. But we did have one of our Bethel 200 events out at Boatyard Eats. It's one of our local kind of community bar, restaurant, live music venues. And so we took the praise team out there. They played two different sets. We heard from a local artist, Phil Hamrick, as well, from Love Lake Norman. Shout out to you guys, doing great work over there in downtown Cornelius. But we heard from the team, and then it was also an event that kind of gave light to our Bethel Weekday Preschool, so they were there in full force, had tons of preschool families, and then we also supported the Neighborhood Care Center, Manny Rosario and those great folks down there in Smithville. So it was a great all-around event, but yeah, it was a great opportunity. Thanks to, I always give her credit, she doesn't like it, but Amy Niner for really wanting to get our Bethel music team out into the community. That was a great opportunity for us to really showcase who we are, who our praise team is, what the church is about. And we packed that place out on a Thursday, which doesn't normally happen. So they were...
Midweek.
Yes,
Tremendous.
midweek, which was great. Yeah, I think of some other things when we look back early on in the year when we could actually get together. The Super Bowl lunch, Karis. Obviously, that was also something that was pre-you, but the women threw down. Tom, I know you
Yeah,
were there.
absolutely.
Some really good soup, baked potato bar, dessert. But that was an event bringing light to Gabe Swing and the ministry that he is doing, a former staff member here at Bethel in the Bahamas with the Caribbean Youth Network and the Bahamas Youth Network. So we did a tool drive. We packed kits, hygiene kits that they could pass out. Obviously, it was post-hurricane. And so they were, it's still kind of devastated down there in Marsh Harbor. And so, but it was great to be able to support him. And the kids got to serve. There were some pictures floating around of kids holding the trays, picking up trash, and packing the hygiene kits.
It was a wonderful time of families coming together, serving the church, serving people in need. And it was just a great atmosphere to start the year. It was tremendous.
It was. And obviously, faithful fellowship is one of our ways that we do ministry around here, one of our Bethel 200 words. And that was a great time of fellowship. So that was another great opportunity. Obviously, that had a little bit of a serve piece to it. Our Serve Sacrificially team led that kind of mission aspect of it. They also got to pass out the Thanksgiving meals through the Neighborhood Care Center. So we were reached out to by Manny and Neighborhood Care and said, look, all of the churches in Cornelius are going to come together and we're going to pass out as many Thanksgiving meals to our friends in Smithville, right here in Cornelius. A majority, for those who don't know, African American and Hispanic community right here in the heart of Cornelius, and very low income to some degree. So,
you know how many meals we passed out?
So we were asked to provide 30, but I think we ended up with 39 after it was all said and done. So I actually got to help drive the church bus. It was a great opportunity to go down there. I had never been in the true heart of Smithville. And it's eye-opening because you don't realize that we have, that kind of poverty right in our back door. But some of the most grateful people, they just flat out, the love that they showed because of what we were able to do for them. It was just amazing. Some really great folks. And Manny, again, they're doing some really cool stuff down in Smithville. So kudos to our folks who stepped up. And I think we maybe even had to turn some away. We couldn't handle the amount that we really needed.
Amount of overflow. Well, and I was thinking about how many, you probably know way more than I do. These are the big stories. There's so many stories between life groups that are supporting different organizations or Sunday school groups that take up collections to support a ministry. I've heard so many stories, being new on staff here, of ways people do that. And I was part of a small group when I first arrived here, a group of gals who got together and put stockings together and took those to Watchmen of the Street ministries. And so, there's so much good that is going on that we're not always aware of, especially when we're not gathering together regularly. So I just think it's good to dwell on what's been done in Jesus' name in this place and celebrate it.
I think Presbyterian women do an awful lot that people just don't hear about. The life of the church for 2,000 years, if we're really candid, it's been the women always, from the very beginning until today, who are a major force of carrying the Spirit of Christ as servants. And I think they've just done a wonderful ministry for us and for the community.
Oh, absolutely.
True.
Obviously, that's where Super Bowl comes from. The women do that event and a host of other things. I think a lot of the stories, especially I think that Tom knows a lot about, those smaller stuff comes out of our Bethel Care team. They're doing some just absolutely amazing work. And Tom, you and Beth Moss, and there's a few others that kind of head that
Donald
group
Waters,
up.
yes.
So I'm sure you've got plenty of stories, but kind of tell us a little bit about what that group's been doing, how it started, and then what it's been doing during COVID.
The Bethel Care team comprises what I would call the prayer warriors, some of the prayer warriors of the church, who really have a servant's heart about serving sacrificially. So 4 or 5 of them are nurses, but others have been deacons and elders, and they are committed to taking care of our people. And these are people who may be ill, or they may be very anxious about life issues of losing jobs, of not having enough money to pay bills, to being hospitalized, grieving. I mean, it covers the whole gamut of pain, but it's also an uplifting ministry because we get to help people in need. And we are willing to make visits upon request using the appropriate safety protocols, a lot of telephone calls. But I think the most important thing is that we reach out. And we're willing to do communion with folks at home, for example. I do anointing for healing, final anointing for end of life. And we're just there to help people when they have this need, when they're facing the anguish and the anxiety and the fear of all the kinds of things that are going on in 2020. We tried to be the image of Christ as best as we could be. One of the things I think is particularly interesting is we had drive-through prayer. And we started that in May through August. And we had several of our elders and deacons and several of us on the Bethel Care team. And with the help of communication, got out into the community that we were doing this. So we would have people pull up. And we had people from every conceivable walk of life. We had people from out of state. We had people who had lost jobs. They were crying because they didn't have money for food or for housing. People who were grieving over someone who had just passed away. Churches were pretty much shut down. And it was so uplifting to spend a few minutes with people, praying with them. And it meant so much to us, but we heard so many testimonials about how people truly felt the presence of Christ. Regardless of denomination, regardless of faith tradition, we were open to everyone. And I just think of that as a time when Bethel really shined in this community. We had
At the risk of putting you on the spot, was there one specific prayer moment for you that just made you go, this was my God appointment?
Well, and I've got one.
Maybe Jeremy
that
has
I
one
was
to
thinking
start.
of
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
I'll start while you think.
Both of you.
But I've got a picture on my phone because I just happened to be there at this time. We had a Cornelius police officer who rolled through in his police car. He was on duty, and he just wanted some prayer. And so our team, surrounded the car, prayed with him, which I thought was it was at a particularly, I guess I would say, troubling time for police officers. There was a lot going on. Obviously around here in Charlotte, our police officers are pretty heavily invested in a lot down there. Cornelius, maybe not so much like we've seen on the news, but still being out there on the force, it's not something that we as citizens take lightly or that they take lightly. And so we wanted to be able to surround him. So I thought that was one of the coolest kind of opportunities to be able to.
It was a good one. My father was a police officer, so I would approach the Cornelius police who would show up in our parking lot under the trees, 90-degree weather to, do their meetings. And we had some really good conversations, but each and every one so appreciated the fact that we reached out to them. And but I think the most poignant was a lady who her daughter was facing a traumatic divorce. There was illness in the family, and she was heartbroken. And we had a time of prayer with her, and she actually left smiling, which meant a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Meant a lot. So I'm very thankful for the support of the church, for our community, and for the support of our elders and deacons.
Part of those prayer times, was it our elder? How do you get involved with that? If that's something that people hear about on the podcast and go, I want to, next time you're having people drive through, and how can they get involved?
Well, we're actually going to have the prayer wall, or a prayer tree, we call it, permanently installed on church property near the sanctuary starting the end of January. So our prayer warriors will be mobilizing for that. And if you're interested in participating, you can either call Donna Waters or you can call me. And I'm in the directory, but just in case.
704 892-0546.
Everybody out there now has Tom's
That's
personal
okay.
cell phone.
That's
go.
okay.
Right on.
Good.
Well, and that's a great, obviously that's in 2021, but we had the prayer tree in 2020, and just an amazing, people can come at any time of day, night, didn't matter, write on a piece of paper, roll it up,
Yes.
stick it in the tree, and then it gets prayed over probably, if I'm honest, multiple times, right?
Yes.
We probably covered it more than just a singular time. But yeah, I mean, what a opportunity that even when we couldn't be there physically for the drive-through prayer, people could still come by. And it's great that we're offering that
Permanently, right?
permanently
Yeah.
into 2021.
So we had 170 that came through this summer. One third covenant partners, 1/3 from the community, and 1/3, we don't know, they used the prayer tree.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to continuing that.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that was a cool opportunity that we had over the summer. I think another really cool opportunity we had was our Sunlight Camp. So we had this tremendous week-long spotlight camp all day that we were going to do. We were going to introduce a preschool aspect to it. We were really going to blow it out. And then COVID hits, right? I mean, it was just like,
Yeah.
Jan and I and everyone else that has our hand in Spotlight, the Connect consistently team was just like, like the air just deflated. And immediately Jan goes, hang on, how can we safely, with COVID, pivot to something different, right? And so we have this camp where we could only have up to 10 kids each week. I mean, it was just, I was at first thinking, just 10, wow, that's crazy. But then we end up having scholarship students from Smithville, from the Neighborhood Care Center, come in. We have, it was just such a lot of community kids, some of our own Bethel folks, but just an opportunity for them to do some mission work, to go out, have a scavenger hunt at Jatan Park, hear Bible stories. Jan just did an amazing job of really teaching. And I thought that was a great opportunity for us to pivot, to reach the community, not just ourselves.
That's right.
Be outside these walls in a different way.
Now, I actually got to witness a tiny bit of that because when I was interviewing for this position here, that was going on. So I came to the campus and I saw this outdoor fun going on. And I actually was downstairs it wasn't down under, it was where the preschool is, but there were kids in the hallways who were coming to wash their hands, and you could just tell that they had not been involved in something like this, and there was this glow and energy about them that I just thought, way to go.
Pre-COVID, I used to watch Jeremy come over from the Bethel Haven across the street with what I called his kids. There were at least 30 or 35 of them, happy and laughing, and Jeremy, you've done a tremendous job because it was a wonderful thing to see.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the youth program was definitely going strong pre-COVID, and we're still here. So that's always a great thing. That's called job security in my mind when we have kids that come.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to continue our children's ministry, to continue our youth ministry, to find different ways. I mean, youth went online via YouTube at one point, went to Zoom. Everyone was Zoomed out. We finally got back in person, but we had to work we're, just like you are at home with your family or with your work, we're doing the best that we can, right? With the circumstances that we're kind of under.
There's one other very important person, Beth Moss, I think for many years, maybe 20, 25 years, has been an anchor for this church around care.
Yep.
And she does an exceptional job on the medical side, but she's a prayer warrior in her own way. And she's a very important part of what we do at Bethel Care.
Yeah, Beth definitely, the things that from being able to give shots to going on visits to, there's so much that she can do that just blows my mind. And that's such an asset for us to have, here at Bethel. I was thinking, another really cool thing that came to mind was towards the end of the year, we ended up, and I think she's still there if I'm not mistaken, but we have a young lady who is staying at Bethel Haven. For those of you who have kind of tracked with Bethel, over the last couple of years, we had our own Dixon Kameze who was staying over there. Dixon came from Uganda. He's in graduate school here in the U.S. and came to Bethel, and so we've taken him under kind of our wing here. And so Dixon stayed there, and Dixon finally got housing that he can move out on to his own. And we were reached out by Safe Families and said, hey, we've got a mom who got a job in Cornelius who's really trying to work hard to get back on her feet, but she just doesn't have the rent money to stay somewhere because of how high rent prices are. And immediately our serve team goes, absolutely. The house is sitting vacant. We want to be able to use it. And it goes to session, rubber stamp from session. And so now we've got someone who's utilizing our space. I mean, what a cool way to help someone. And what the Safe Families group has been able to do to support her. The kids are staying with one of the sponsor families, from Safe Families. It's just been really cool to see how our congregation as a whole, but some of those young moms that have really gotten behind Safe Families have jumped on that opportunity to be able to help someone out in need. And, that's temporary. She's moving out into her own space here, I think, first of the year, sometime really soon. So she won't be there for long, but
then hopefully God will bring somebody new our way, and we will continue to be a church that can pivot quickly and say, hey, we have a place for you. And any last things? I hope that this has been encouraging to all of you listening, and realize that this has been a weird, wacky year in so many ways, but to know that God's work is still being done in so many places, and here at Bethel, but even out into the community, all of our partner organizations, so many stories that you as a congregation are involved in that we don't even know. And we would probably sit here for hours if we were to share them all. Anything that we must not leave behind.
Well, I was just going to say, I think if you, folks who have seen that iceberg kind of imagery where there's just a little tiny bit sticking out of the top and a huge chunk of it below, right? We haven't even gotten to the huge chunk, right? There's so much cool stuff is going on. Yeah. The one thing I'll say, just because I happened to play in it, I don't know why it popped in my head, but was the Bethel Golf Tournament, right? This opportunity that we had. The fall festival ended up being canceled. It was an extremely tough decision that the team had to make in conjunction talking with Cornelius Police and knowing that it just was not going to be safe to gather that many people. And now that we kind of see how COVID has gone, kind of hindsight is 2020, it is an even better decision than what we realized. But we were able to hold the golf tournament. Golf had been a COVID-approved activity from day one, and we did a really good job of socially distancing people there. They wore masks while they weren't with their team. But we raised $10,000 for our partner organization, the Charlotte Rescue Mission, and supporting them and the Community Matters Cafe and the Dove's Nest Women's organization. That was just, to me, like our people stepped up, and to be able to provide that kind of money to one of our groups to be able to continue in ministry when COVID has really hit, really hard for a lot of our partner organizations that were, aren't receiving the kind of funds because it's hitting people too at home personally, financially. So that was just a cool.
Thanks for bringing that one up.
Piece. But obviously we could go on and on and on, but we wanted to bring some of the cool stuff out that we've been able to do here and know that in 2021, we're hoping to continue or maybe even quadruple the amount of stuff that we were able to do.
Well, we certainly hope that we can reach out to more people of the church, and particularly as the vaccines begin taking effect and we have fewer people who are ill, gives us the opportunity to reach out to a lot of homebound folks that we just haven't been able to.
Oh, absolutely.
So I look forward to that very much.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, whether it's our own people, whether it's folks out in the community, 2021 is going to be a year that you see Bethel kind of mobilize its troops and start really hitting, especially our Bethel 200 kind of time, that big dream for Bethel. I think we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff through that. Good. So just lots of prayers that COVID goes away. Right. Oh my gosh. We're praying for you just as much as we hope that you're praying for us as a staff, as a church, because it's tough for everybody. But
thanks,
anyways.
Tom, for being a part, being our special guest today. And
my pleasure, believe me.
I hope that some of what Tom has shared has just reminded you that Bethel Care, that's an arm of Bethel. And if you want to be a part of that caring arm, you know who to talk to. You've got his phone number now. So
also,
thanks for being here.
Don't hesitate to reach out. I know a lot of our folks don't like to ask for help or don't want to ask for prayers. But we have a team,
Yes.
an amazing team of great people that will jump at it. They won't bombard you, right? They will be there when you need it. They'll leave you alone when you want to be left alone. They're so good at that. So don't hesitate to reach out. And whether or not you're part of Bethel or not, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
They're willing to step up and be the people. So, but yeah, thanks for joining
Thank
us
you.
for episode 4. We'll be back next week with the new sermon series that started this past week, but we just felt like we had to look back on 2020 and the cool stuff.
Yeah.
But what's the name of that sermon series?
The name of the series is Make This Place Your Home. And we are going through the book of Colossians together. And yours truly gets to kick it off. And that's all I'll say right now. You'll hear more on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Have a great week, folks. We'll see you back here next week.
God bless.